Hi everyone. In this video we'll be discussing about some questions based on the chapter Chemical Kinetics. The questions are asked in the Neet exam in the year 2022-2023. First let us take on the question asked in 2023. So here it is. What is given? For a certain reaction the rate is given. The rate is equal to what? K into A square into B. So this is nothing but what? The rate law is given. The rate law is given, right? So what is asked? When the initial concentration of A is what? Tripled. That means it is increased three times, keeping the concentration of B constant. So they haven't done any change with B. Now what would happen to the initial rate? That is a question. A is increased three times, B is kept as it is. So initial rate would become what would become to the initial rate? So now what let us consider is, let us consider the initial rate is going to be R1. So R1 is equal to K into A square into B. So this is what is the equation they have given, and I'll take it as equation number 1. So what have they made change? With whatever change they have made, I'll take it as new rate, that is R2. So what they have done to A, they have increased it three times. So instead of A, it becomes 3A now, 3A square. So nothing is changed with respect to B, so B is kept as it is, right? So now what I will do is, in order to get the change as to how much is changed, I mean whatever is the change in rate that we are going to get, I'll keep it R1 by R2. So what is R1? K into A square into B. So what is done with, I mean, what is R2? R2 is K with three times they have increased, and that becomes 3A raised to 2. So B is kept as it is. So cancelling B, cancelling as well as K, and what am I left with in the numerator is A square. In the denominator I am left with 3A square is nothing but 3 square into A square. A square gets cancelled. So initial rate by the next rate is going to be R1 by R2 is 1 by 9. So therefore your new rate becomes 9 times. So your answer is what? It increases by a factor of 9. So third one is your answer. With this, let's go to the next question. Yeah. Here, the given graph, there's a graph given here. It is a representation of kinetics of the reaction. I mean, with respect to rate of reaction. So they have plotted y versus x. It is very important to check the nature of graph here. It is simply parallel to x-axis. The line, it is just parallel to x-axis. That means it is clear indication that y is independent of x. So in this graph, y is independent of x. Therefore, we are getting a parallel line. Now, let us see the y and x axis for 0 as well as first order reactions are given. So y and x. What is y? What is x? For both 0 and first order reaction, we have to find out. Right? So we have to find out what is y and what is x for 0 as well as first order. Right? Now we need to understand, firstly, for zero order reaction. For zero order reaction. Okay. Now they have told that y and, I mean, based on the graph, it is clear that y is independent of x. So we need to find out for zero order reaction which two quantities are independent of each other, right? So let us read the first option. For zero order, y is concentration, x is time. Is concentration independent of time? No. As time progresses, as reaction progresses with time, the concentration will change irrespective of the order. So therefore, y as well as x, keeping y equal to concentration and x equal to time, are not going to be independent of each other. So option A is not right. Option B, for zero order, y is again concentration, x is again time. So with the time, concentration changes, but we want the two quantities which are independent of each other. So second option is also wrong. For the third option, zero order, y is rate and x is concentration. Now what is zero order reaction? Zero order reaction is the reaction whose rate is independent by going with the definition of zero order reaction. Zero order reaction is the reaction whose rate is independent of concentration of reactants, right? So since rate is independent of concentration, we can say that y can be equal to rate and x can be equal to concentration. So with zero order, these two quantities are correct. Now what about for first order? For first order reaction, option 3 is half correct. Now for first order reaction, y is equal to half life and x is equal to concentration. Now, what is the relation between half life and concentration? Half life is inversely proportional to a raised to n minus 1. So since it is for first order, I'll substitute n as 1. So what will I get? A raised to 1 minus 1 is 0. This clearly indicates that half life and concentration are independent of each other. So for first order, half life as well as concentration are independent. So therefore we wanted independent quantities. So option 3 will be right. Next question. Yeah, 2021. For a reaction A giving B, enthalpy of the reaction is given minus 4.2 kilojoule per mole. Right? Enthalpy of the reaction is written as delta H equal to what? Minus 4.2 kilojoule per mole. So this is the enthalpy of reaction. What next? The next is enthalpy of activation. Enthalpy of activation. Enthalpy of activation, that is nothing but energy of activation. Enthalpy of activation or energy of activation is how much? 9.6 kilojoule per mole. Now, the correct potential energy profile for the reaction is shown in the option. So that means they have given you 4 graphs here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of the 4 graphs, which is right? Now, if we pay attention and look at the delta H is negative. So delta H is a negative here, which implies that the reaction is what? Exothermic reaction. For exothermic reaction, enthalpy or energy of the product will be less than energy of the reactants, because the reaction takes place by evolution of heat energy. So therefore final enthalpy would be less than initial enthalpy. So going by the graph, if we start with reactants, the reactants whose energy is going to be high and product whose energy is going to be less. So this point indicates that this is the enthalpy of product and this is enthalpy of reactants, because product is less, enthalpy of reactant is high. So this is going to be the graph of energy versus progress of the reaction. This would be the nature of the graph because it is exothermic reaction. So which will match the first one? No. Second one will be matching. So therefore second option will be right. Just by going with value of delta H which is negative, we can figure out which graph is right. So second option will be right for this particular question. Going with the next question. The slope of Arrhenius plot ln k versus 1 by t. The graph is ln of k versus 1 by t. The slope of Arrhenius plot ln k versus 1 by t of first order reaction. Slope is given here. The value of EA of the reaction is, right? So what is given there? Slope is how much for this particular graph? Slope is how much? Minus 5 into 10 raised to 3. The value of energy of activation is asked, right? For ln k versus 1 by t, you should remember that your slope will be minus EA by R. Suppose if the question would be log k versus 1 by t, in that case your slope would be minus EA by 2.303 into R. So if you go by Arrhenius equation, you will come to know the value of that. So slope is now minus EA by R. With this, value of slope is how much given? 5 into 10 raised to 3. They have asked you the energy of activation, minus EA by R. So what is R? 8.314 joule. But your options are in kilojoule. You can see that if your options are in kilojoule, I'll keep this 8.314 also in kilojoule. That would be 10 raised to minus 3. So negative sign gets cancelled. I'll take EA is equal to now 5 into 10 raised to 3 into 8.314 into 10 raised to minus 3. So here 10 raised to 3 minus 3 gets cancelled. 5 into 8.314 will be approximately 41.5 kilojoule. 10 raised to plus 3 minus 3 gets cancelled. 5 into 5 into 8.314 would be 41.5. So the answer for this question would be option A. Go to the next question. 2020. The question is the increase in concentration. What they have increased? Concentration of the reactant leads to change. Means what? Concentration is increased. Increase in concentration will lead to change in what? First of all, we should know what is exactly concentration. Concentration is what? Concentration is a number of moles of particular substance per unit volume. So what they have done to concentration? They have increased it. Since they have increased it, if concentration increases, the number of moles of the substance also increases. Number of moles is what? Number of moles is number of moles into Avogadro's number of molecules. So if number of moles increase, then what will increase? Number of molecules would also increase. If number of molecules in the same given volume increases, then obviously number of collisions also increase. Number of collisions per unit volume. As more number of molecules come into the same volume, they start colliding. So number of collisions per unit volume increases. Number of collisions is nothing but what? Collision frequency increases. So therefore, with increase in concentration, collision frequency increases. So second option will be the right one. Next question. Again 2020. What is given here? The rate constant. The rate constant is given. The rate constant for which order? First order. The rate constant for first order is given to be this, right? So K is equal to what? Rate constant, which is 4.606 into 10 raised to minus 3 per second. So this is the rate constant. What is asked? The time required to reduce. To reduce what? 2 gram of the substance was there. I want to reduce it to 0.2 gram. The time required to reduce 2 gram of the reactant to 0.2 gram, right? So what was the initial amount? A, or I can write it as R naught. Initial amount is what? 2 gram. I want to bring it to where? The remaining amount A minus X or RT. I want to bring it to where? 0.2 gram. For this, what is the time required is asked. Since it is first order, your equation would be what? K equal to 2.303 into log 2.303 by T into log of R naught by RT. So now the question is what? Time. So they have asked for time. The equation becomes what? T equal to 2.303 by K into log of. R naught means what? The initial value. So what is initial value here? Initial value is 2 gram. Remaining value is 0.2. So 0.2 ones are 10s are. So that becomes what? 2.303 by K. K is what? 4.606 into 10 raised to minus 3. Okay? Into, what is this log of 10? Log of 10 is 1. So therefore, the 2.303 ones are divided by 2. 1 by 2 into 10 raised to minus 3 would be how much? 10 raised to 3, if it goes up, 1000 by 2. That would be 1000 by 2. My answer would be how much? 500. Since time is rate constant. Rate constant is per second. Rate constant is per second. The time will be in seconds. That is 500 second will be the answer. So these are the solutions for all the questions of chemical kinetics asked in NEET exam from 2020 to 2023. Thank you.